with ongoing initiatives and deliberate efforts to encourage women to join and thrive in the construction industry, more women are stepping into leadership and technical roles, once considered exclusively for males. The Construction Industry Development Board will host the Empowerment and Recognition of Women in Construction Awards, aimed at celebrating the achievements of women in the sector. This year's event will feature a keynote address by the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Dean McPherson, underscoring the importance of diversity, empowerment, and equal opportunity within the construction sector. We're now joined by the Construction Industry Development Board Chief Executive Officer, Bongani Dladla. Bongani, thank you so much for your time this evening. Really do appreciate it. Just how big is the sector, and what percentage of that market share truly is owned and operated by women in the sector?
The construction sector in South Africa contributes significantly to our GDP, probably about 3% of the GDP, but it expands when it comes to employment and many other aspects. In terms of women participation over the years, we've seen an increase in terms of the ownerships patterns, where when you're looking at the largest companies, grade 7 to 9, we are looking at about 30, just slightly over 30%. But where we are trying to work at from both the regulatory and the advocacy side as the CIDP is increasing participation in projects so that we can see more women-owned construction companies meaningfully contributing to infrastructure development in the country.
Yeah, let's talk about that grading system, right, which is from level 1 to grade 1 to grade 9. If you're a grade 9 company, my understanding is that you would have handled a certain amount of revenue, which speaks to your scale and size, but also a certain amount of project sizing. I think for grade 9, it must be minimum of a project worth about 30 million. I don't know. You know the numbers better than us. You can tell us that. Where do women-owned and women-operated construction companies typically fare as far as grading is concerned? How many of them are in that 7 to 9 bracket?
More than 30% of our register is women-owned construction companies, which is a huge improvement from the previous years where we would have 5% only participating at that level. So,
and by that level, we mean 7 to 9, correct?
7 to 9, yes,
right.
Exactly, 7 to 9, yes. So it's quite important because if you're looking at the construction economy of South Africa, that's where most of the projects are. That's where the most economic activities happen. So we took a deliberate action as CIDP to not cloud the statistics by including only grade 1s, the lower grades, where representation is fairly good, but also focusing on the higher grades because that's where large infrastructure projects really are done.
When you fall from grade 1 to, say, grade 4, maybe grade 5, you would, in South African business terms, be considered an SME. How many women-owned businesses fall into a death cycle or a trap cycle of just being grade 1 and grade 2 and never quite making it out? I'm asking that question because the follow-up question I intend on asking you is, what support do those women businesses typically need in the sector?
Yeah, it's actually quite an important question because there's a huge number of contractors that are stuck in grade 1, and many of them are women-owned construction companies. And really what leads to that process is when they don't get access to meaningful large projects in order for them to complete those projects and be able to upgrade. So that's where really the majority of the challenge. And to go to your follow-up question, what we have done as the CIDP is that we've initiated contractor development projects and programs with many infrastructure clients where they can target women-owned construction companies, youth-owned construction companies, and those that are owned by people with disability. And the aim of that is to put them in a protected space in terms of procurement where they can be allocated work, they can be provided with mentorship opportunity, and then training so that they can grow. So a large number of companies struggle because we have quite a huge number at grade 1 to grow from that. And hence, it is important for these types of programs to go beyond just awards, but also empowerment programs that will support their growth and development. And more importantly, a sustainable growth of these particular businesses.
Yeah, your industry is plagued by something we loosely call the construction mafia, particularly where government infrastructure funded projects exist, right? And in that sector, what we typically see is that these low-grade companies, grade 1 to grade, let's say 3, 4, are typically companies that depend on principal contractors, typically a grade 7, 8, 9 company, to subcontract them, to bring them into the fold, so to speak. And oftentimes, they do this under duress if we're talking about the activity of the construction mafia. Do we know of how many women-owned construction businesses are affected by that sort of extortive behavior and extortive business practices in the sector?
We are starting to get very good statistics around that following the November 2024 anti-corruption and extortion summits that we held in Durban under the leadership of Minister McPherson. Because what had happened, what we started noticing is that contractors were resorting to paying the bribes or the protection fees and not going to the police. So now we are starting to see an increase in the reporting of those cases, and we are also doing studies as to what is the full extent, because most of the evidence that exists is anecdotal, where you say there is quite a significant increase in these types of activities, but scientific evidence is not there. So we are actually improving in that aspect. But what we've also done is to institutionalize the aspects of social facilitation in these construction projects so that the genuine businesses can get to know and get to participate in these projects. And we've recently gazetted, Public Works recently gazetted the integrated social facilitation framework that was promised last year as a tool to ensure that we deal with this behavior of extortionists on site. And the other aspect, working with Treasury, we are clarifying the rules around the set-asides and how procurement ought to happen in order to ensure that genuine businesses do benefit. Because the saddest part of this is when we take opportunities from genuine businesses that are interested in growing, that are interested in being into a construction site, and then giving money to those that just want money and getting out of that business, because it's not a long-term sustainable approach to developing SMMEs.
Yeah, just in literally 10 seconds, why are these awards important?
They are very important because we are highlighting the best and the brightest of the construction industry, so that no client can say there are no women that are doing excellently in this construction industry. So it's more of the advocacy, but combining that with tangible programs like training, support, financial development.
Yeah, look, maybe my invitation is still lost in the mail, but I hope to receive that. Bongani, thank you so much for your work and for your time this evening. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Bongani Dladla, the Construction Industry Development Board CEO, they're talking to us about the developments in the construction sector pertaining to women and, of course, the support given to women-owned and operated construction businesses.